One of the things that I love about Vicki is just the way that she carries music into our hearts. I've always thought that what's special about music is that it has this potential to reach deep into our subconscious when words can't get past our prefrontal cortex. Music doesn't do that automatically. You know this. It takes someone particular to touch you. And as a professional musician, I would say that my prefrontal cortex is a bit, shall we say, dense. It's a little harder to get through to my heart, to open me up when I hear music, because I do it all the time, and I'm studying it, and I'm practicing all the time. But Vicki always cuts straight to my heart, straight in. She has the easiest access. Just I'm always lifted into this space of connecting with myself deeper and with the divine, and I'm just so grateful for that, Vicki. So that's sort of the spiritual and emotional side for me. As a pianist, I can say, there's some really cool things that she can do, like crazy scales and arpeggios. She can just whip them out. Like they're just always there. She even makes up new ones on the spot. And it fits. It's like it's perfect. And not to mention those rich, sweet, beautiful chords that she throws in, spice it up. But also the way that she plays those chords. One of the things I think is missing most in modern piano playing that used to be around, especially up until like the 1950s, was a way to bring color and tone out of the piano from the bottom up. A lot of pianists after the 1950s, play it like a percussive instrument. And it is a percussive instrument, and that's fine too. But the art has been lost of color and warmth and tone. Vicki always has that. I always wanted that and listened for that and hope for that. Vicki always knows how to make the piano speak in a rich and beautiful way. So I'm just so lucky to work with Vicki. It's incredible. The other thing I really love is that as a pianist, is that we have these choral anthems, and a lot of times the accompaniment is written pretty basically, and I'm always wanting more from what's on the page. Vicki always has it, and she's always ready to give it. So I'm so grateful for that. So lucky to work with you, Vicki, and I love you so much. Richard Clark has some things to say, so I'd like to invite our own troublemaker. He sits in the bass section. You know about the bass section, right? We're the spitballers of the choir. Come on up, Richard.
What's this? Do I really need this? Yeah, okay. Oh, good, I have something to lean on. That's even better. Well, I was considering about, can you hear me in the back? Is it too loud? Okay, this is unusual because people sometimes ask me to do this because I have a kind of a loud, resonant voice and a high tolerance for being ignored. So I do that. I was considering this church and Vicki and that sort of thing. I was thinking of congregational UCC churches all over this country and thinking, there's little tiny churches, and then there's churches like this one. Little tiny churches kind of seem special to me because my grandfather was a minister, and I'm sure his first church was very small. They didn't have much for clergy except him. They didn't have much for custodial staff or musical staff except for my father and my grandmother. Now that's great, in central Illinois. What do you expect? All right, but then you get to this place where there's a staff of a dozen or something like that, and there's 3 keyboardists. And then I thought, I'm not used to this, but I'll just hang on to it, okay? That's really very interesting. And then I stopped thinking about all this stuff because I didn't have time. I needed to focus. And I focused on this wonderful church and the congregation, and then I thought the word wonder. And about 30 years ago, I think I was singing in the choir at that time because I had relinquished a couple years of directing the church choir here. For those youngsters here who don't know that I was a director here, Vicki had gotten a substitute pianist, and my thinking was, I wonder who that is. Now, Barb, I think you prepared me sort of for it. Okay, so let's see, who was sitting next to me? It was probably Scott Johnson. I said, I wonder who that is. And whoever she was. Yeah, where is Vicki? Oh, right there. I'm saying, I'm not going to say it, never mind. We thought, wow, this was really something. And as we got to know her, we said we wondered who she was. And when she finished playing, we thought, oh, that was wonderful. And then after we'd gotten to know her, it was like, what a wonder this person is. And the last thing was, I wonder where all of that is coming from. And what was all of that? Well, quite frankly, I don't know. But we kept speculating on things. We'd see Vicki at the keyboard and we'd wonder, oh, what's going to happen now? Or we would wonder, where's the music? She's just playing. Well, I'm going to then transfer my thoughts, because Barb warned me, keep this brief. There were 2 emails that mentioned that, Barb. Go figure, okay? So, Vicki, it just amazes me. Give her a melody and say, you need to fill up 2.5 minutes with music using this melody, whatever melody you give her, you know, and she did it. No music. And sometimes you put music in front of her, and if you had a copy of it, it was a little hard to follow it, because she can't resist improvising. And I was thinking about improvisation. She's really, really, really 3 times good at it. And I'll come back to that too, but I do have a story about an accompanist and a choral director. Let's see, Melissa's here, Jared's here, other choral musicians in the crowd. I was very focused. She was being the accompanist at the time, and I was very focused on talking to the choir. You know, I want the ST to be just like that. You know, I want it to be like that at this spot. And the word was probably something like lost or something of that sort. And I said, you know, sing through it, make it part of the music. And the choir actually kind of got it. And Vicki looked up at me and said, so what do you want me to do? All right, I've met my match, and then, of course, way over the top. Improvisation. Now, see, I want to make sure I got everything here. See, a whole speech on 1 3x5 card, so you count your blessings. Historians tell us that Bach used to engage in improvisation contests. They'd get the organist, you know, kind of in the next little town and come over and have these contests. Now, what the rules were, what the realities of it were, I have no idea. But I would invite J.S. Bach to come to this church and have a playoff with Vicki. Now, I diverge only slightly. I'm always curious I'm kind of a car guy. Some of you know that, some of you probably wish you didn't know it. Anyway, and I'm always curious about what kind of car she's driving. And, you know, I've seen everything from a Mercedes to an old Beetle. But she's so good at improvisation, this I have never done, ridden with her in traffic. That will go unrepeated. Okay? Anyway, bottom line is, you know, right here in 2024 in this church, she's not the only one, I'm sure, but we really do have a Wonder Woman.
Another choir director who could not be here but sends his greetings. Greg Soika writes, "Dearest Vic, congratulations on 3 decades. I'm so honored to have been a part of your ministry at FCC and your life. Your talents and gifts always pushed me to be a better musician and a better person. I absolutely loved our time together at FCC and with Women's Choral Society, and am so proud of all we accomplished. I could not have asked for a better, more talented, creative partner and friend. Best wishes going into this new decade. I'm so honored to have been a part of your journey. Love, Greg Soika."
Now I'd like to invite Janet up to share. Welcome.
Hello, I'm Janet Scott. I'm a former associate minister here, and oh, Vicki, what a fine run you have had here. And I remember way back when you were hired, Richard Clark and Barbara were ready for something new, I think, and maybe for a little rest and respite. And Vicki came in with quite a flourish. Lots of energy and lively toe tapping, hand clapping, dance in the aisle music. All this came out of that sanctuary. We couldn't believe it, actually. What a change. And it wasn't changing because we were kind of a more staid worshiping community at that time. And it came with some dissenters, I must say. A few dissenters claiming that this music was not suitable for worship. And some even called it lounge music. Do you remember? Lounge music. But you won them over. You won them over. And I think everyone became a great fan in the long run. So, yay for you. And I remember you saying once that coming on board staff here was like jumping on a float as the parade went by, and you just jumped on there and started like and that's what it felt like. It was just a great time, a great image. We had a staff of 15 or so at the time, and some of my favorite memories was of the staff Christmas party at your house, the house that you moved away from and now moved back into, I think. And you played the piano that night, and we all sang Christmas carols. And being music geeks and church geeks, we knew all of them. And so I think Jerry probably remembered, it went on a few hours, I think. We just sang and sang, and it was so fun and such a beautiful gift to us. And what a wonderful turn of events when Joanne and Vicki got together. Now, how many people these days do you think can say they met at church? And no. So they did. They met at the retreat, and what a great couple. I'll always remember your beautiful wedding at Doris Ranch. And then you're able to work, both of you on staff here at the same time. That was kind of amazing. So being able to work with Vicki and Joanne, icing on the cake, our power couple. And I remember also our church game board group. Remember that? We had a gaming group, and Vicki and Joanne are gamers. I mean, yeah, take them on. They love to play games. But as I reflected over all of our good times together over the years, 3 words kept popping into my head. Besides your obvious musical talent, of course, there's flexibility, great kindness, and fun. Now, when you work at a church, you often find yourself stretching in directions you never thought you would. I think Dana and Kim and a lot of people in here can relate to that. Well, Vicki taught junior choir, middle school choir, did a stint at middle school youth director even, and my daughters remember those years so fondly. It was great to always have you at Camp Adams. You brought your leadership to alternative worship and Taizé services and the house band. I even remember you preaching a time or two, so look at us. Very, very flexible. Now, worship planning with her was always so fun because, you know, the sky's the limit, right? She didn't say no to anything, and we could just go way out there and dream, and she would say, nod, sure, why not? So we had some great times together with your flexibility. I also remember piano lessons right here in this choir room. Oh my gosh. My daughters and I took lessons from Vicki, and they remember your kindness especially. These are actually quotes from them. She was so patient, even though we were probably the least musically talented people she had ever seen. I think that might be true. And the other one says, she believed in us when we were obviously a hopeless cause. So even for those without musical talent, we love her too. We persevered, you see. I have these extraordinarily large, long fingers, as you know. And when I was little and people would notice that, they would go, oh my goodness, look at those long fingers. You should be a piano player. And somehow that sunk in, and I thought I should be a piano player. I always did want to play a piano, so I went to one of Don Essig's motivational minute talks, remember those? And he felt compelled, I felt compelled then to try it, even as an adult. So I did try, but folks, it takes more than long fingers. I remember Vicki saying, just put your hands on the keys and, you know, play whatever comes out. I stared at her like, I knew what would come out. It's like when a 3-year-old finds a piano for the first time. You know? That's not music. So I think she has many strategies for teaching music, but that one didn't work so well on me. But I still like music too. Well, and we have all heard what happens when Vicki does this. Beautiful music flows from her hands like it is straight from heaven. It is so lovely, and it is such a gift. So this congregation is so grateful and so blessed that you share this gift with us. So thank you, thank you, thank you for those 30 years and many more, hopefully, and for the flexibility and kindness and always so much fun. May God continue to bless you.
Vicki, another message from a former minister, Greg Flint. Vicki, do you remember Steve King of the Jazz Kings? I think he meant Steve, yes. Was also a church member, and Steve came to me and said, let's do jazz worship, and you're going to love the piano player and singer I have in mind. It was a great idea, so we did the jazz service more than once, and we did love you, the pianist and the singer. Thus it began your 30 years of music ministry at First Congregational, and it has always been a ministry for you. For you played and sang not just on Sundays, but for countless weddings and memorial services. And your music always fit the service, the occasion, the people, the times, the needs of the church. Also recall the worship wars of the 1990s. Many churches split themselves into traditional services and separate contemporary music services. We said we weren't going to divide ourselves that way. Instead, we developed a blended model of worship in which Sundays could be traditional music or all contemporary music, or a mix of the two. And you and Barbara made it work. Unlike many congregations in which the alternative worship model didn't work and caused such division and hurt, we did not have worship wars. I hope you and Barbara both know how wise and courageous and grace-filled that was, and how grateful I am when even now I remember working with you both. For even writing this, I recall clergy gatherings where colleagues would talk about how difficult it was to work with their music staff. I would listen and smile and think, I have been blessed to work with two such talented, creative, committed, loving musicians who made my pastoral years so much easier and joyful. Congratulations, Vicki. 30 years is really something special. I know it, and the whole congregation knows that. And John Morgan says, what a remarkable ministry and God-given talent to celebrate. Vicki has touched so many lives and created music of such incredibly beautiful and impact for each of those 30 years. She is a remarkable talent with a loving soul and heart.
And just to tag onto that, one of the things that I so appreciate about Vicki, we talked a lot about improvisation, but what she does with that is, in the moment, she's present. She's listening to us, she's listening to what's being presented, and she's taking in all that information, and then she might feel that that calls for something different, and she'll just do that, and she'll meet the moment every time. So grateful for that. Melanie has something to share as well. Come on up.
Hi, I'm Melanie Uman. I served here as associate minister from 1997 to 1997 to 2019. I almost mixed up my numbers there. And all of those 22 years were with Vicki. So I have, I guess I would like to share a little bit about what it was like to work with Vicki during those years, and then I have some gratitude specifically to address towards you, Vicki. So I first met Vicki, I could probably go back and look at the date. It was the spring, March or April, I think, of 1997, and we met in the chapel upstairs. I was here, I almost said auditioning, kind of felt that way, right? Auditioning to be the associate pastor. I was still in seminary, I was barely 30 years old, and I kind of didn't know what I was doing, and the person who I was to work with to create a worship experience for the search committee, that was also the board, was Vicki. And I came with a piece of music. I'm not a trained musician, but music is my worship. And so music had to be an integral part of what we did together. And Vicki, as I learned over all those years of working with Vicki, I could just say, you know, I heard this thing and it's kind of like this, and I have this little shred of music, or I have this like weird idea, or, you know, I saw this bassoonist play this thing. And Vicki would be like, oh, okay, yeah, we can work with that, we can do that. And that first time, I don't know if you remember that little worship service we did together, but I brought a piece of music that a seminary friend had written, and somehow we wove it in. We've been sang together. Now I think, was I insane? But maybe a little bit. But, you know, we were willing to take risks. And I think working with you, Vicki, was always an experience of discovery, of adventure, which is what worship music and worship experience should always be. About liberation and creativity and imagination, because it is spiritual formation. And you have formed this congregation in so many ways through your music, and even more so. I mean, everyone's spoken to your gifts, and we all know that, of course. But the experience of you as a person, your genuineness, your ability to move from a working musician in the world that requires a pretty substantial amount of ego, right? That's important for a working musician in secular settings. And it's not better or worse than church ministry, but for you to be able to come into this setting and move into a different mode, to really be a vehicle of the Spirit as opposed to it being about Vicki. And that's an incredible gift, because I've seen you perform in the community, and it's amazing. You sparkle in different and unique ways. But when you're in this space, you understand to your core that this is about community. It's about all of us together, and it's about what the Spirit can do with our collective gifts. And, you know, as Greg mentioned, I too have heard the stories of struggles with music staff, and I didn't experience that here, and I'm so grateful. And you were such a big part of that. Your ability to be so genuine and real and yourself, and not make it about you. You know, it's a gift, and it's a calling. This is your ministry. I also think it's pretty remarkable. I have 2 kids now who are working musicians who to take a regular thing on a Sunday morning is kind of, I mean, when you're working a lot, Saturday nights, Friday nights, you have late night rehearsals. And again, I think that's evidence of Vicki's calling to this ministry, to be here for 30 years through all the changes, the ups, the downs, the growth, the struggles of this congregation. That is real. That is showing up in a way that, this has never been a gig, just a gig for you. Yeah. So working with Vicki, I was meaning to direct all of that to all of you, but, there we go. Working with Vicki was one of the greatest joys and privileges of my time here. And I don't say that lightly. We did some fun things together. And you were very flexible and intuitive, which is a beautiful gift. And then I just want to say thank you for the ways that you have formed my spirit with your gifts. Thank you for the ways you were always yourself through all of it. We went through a lot together. Last night, Anil and I were talking about our relationship and our work together. And he said, you guys are kind of like sisters. Like it was more than just a working relationship. We went through a lot together, and we got to welcome children into our families. Sandy and Renee, I got to know you from the very beginnings of your life, and to see your relationship with Joanne unfold, and all the hard things and all the beautiful things we got to share and be there for each other. And I always knew you were there for me, and I certainly will always be there for you. So thank you, and I have to say thank you on behalf of the whole Uman family, because you nurtured our kids in so many ways, and 2 of them are working musicians now, which is a lot about growing up in this community and being nurtured by such skillful and wise musicians. And I know you shared with me over the years how important the formation was in the church that you grew up in, and how having opportunities to share your gifts and skills in that context was so formational. So thank you for passing that on to my kids. So bless you. Here's to another 30. Is that the right thing to say?
I want to take a moment to say a big thank you to Jean Stover, who put this all together, everything you see on your table, the cake. She organized the people to do the work. Can you stand up first, Jean? Thank you so much. And we're also gonna watch a short video that John, oh, there you are, put together for us. And but Jean had something that she wanted to share before we do that. So,
just real quick, because people were talking about the Vicki's ministry of music, and I just wanted to let you know that I hope I got this date right, because the stewardship dates have changed a lot in the last couple of weeks. But on Sunday, November 3rd, Vicki will be speaking the ministry moment about what her music ministry has meant to her in all of her 30 years. So I'm really excited to hear that, and I